So I prepped my whole life for this golf game. Let me tell you guys about it. So every year since I was born, pretty much, I've gone on vacation for a weekend with my family and they have this golf course there. So ever since I was little, my dad would always go play on the golf course with my uncle and my grandpa when I was younger. And golf would always be a topic of conversation. I wouldn't say it's been a huge part of my life, but it's always just kind of been there in the background. Like, my dad would watch golf once in a while when there was a big tournament, and when I was younger, he taught me how to hold the club, how to swing, and a bunch of golf stuff that is probably not interesting for Minecraft viewers. Point is, I sort of learned how to play as I grew up, and by the age of maybe 10 or 12, I started playing with my family on the yearly trip. Now, for the past maybe 4 or 5 years, I've been able to invite a couple of my close friends on the trip with me, and they tag along for golf. And especially in the past 2 to 3 years, it's gotten very competitive. So my two close friends that I always invite are Francium and Kawa, and for the longest time, it's been a battle between me and Francium of who's gonna win. Because Kawa just didn't really grasp the basics of golfing, which was fine when we weren't taking it too seriously. But fast forward to a year ago, Kawa decides, I'm gonna be the fucking GOAT. I'm gonna win this year. I'm gonna practice my ass off and wipe the fucking floor with these kids. So he goes to the driving range a few times a week for a few months and genuinely gets so much better at golf. He watched a ton of videos. He practiced his swing in his backyard. He practiced so much that one time he invited us to join him at the driving range and we were like, oh shit, he's gonna win. There was fear struck into me and Francium. Our little ping pong game of winning was about to end, and Kawa was about to destroy us both in one foul swoop of hard work and dedication. But then, a few weeks before the game last year, tragedy struck. Kawa needed a ride to work, and I was at work, and Francium had no car. So Francium told Kawa, get on the back of my bike, and, he would bike him over to his work. Only thing is, Francium's bike is not a two-person bike. So from what I know, Kawa was sitting on the little thin piece of metal attached to the back of the bike, meant to hold like an extra bag you can strap on or something. And I guess they took a sharp turn and somehow the weight shifted in a way that Kawa brought his ankles in towards the center of the bike and he injured the back of his ankle. I won't go into too much detail, but I saw that shit and it was gross. Luckily, Francine was goaded and was able to get him to a hospital promptly and they got everything figured out. That's not the important thing here. The important thing is that the favorite to win last year's golf game was injured. And in golf, believe it or not, it's pretty helpful to be able to stand on both legs. So last year's game comes around and Kawa is still on crutches, but he still decides to play. He'd be driven around in the cart and dropped off wherever his ball was and sort of lean on his other leg to shoot. So he was at a bit of a disadvantage despite his extra practice. To be honest, I completely fumbled last year's game. I was very rusty and had not brushed up on my form or fundamentals, so I was playing pretty ass. So really, it was a competition between Francium and Kawa last year, and Francium ended up taking the win by like 2 or 3 points. Now back to about a month ago when the three of us went to the driving range for the first time since before last year's game. We were like, yeah, we should probably get a little warm-up practice in, before this year's golf game. So we showed up to the range and started shooting. Kawa went up, hit some solid shots, pretty straight, decent distance, fairly consistent. Francium went up, pretty much the same, very solid. Then I went up, first shot, ground ball. Second shot, ground ball. Third shot, fourth shot, fifth shot. Absolute dog dookie, hot ass, dog shit, horrible, terrible, awful, never gonna win, never gonna get any bitches looking shots. And I could tell by the end of our time that day at the driving range, they were feeling pretty damn good. They kind of just assumed that I would be out of the running for the victory this year. And honestly, I did too. I was like, damn, that sucks. But at least I want to not suck ass because last year I thought I was going to do well and I played like shit. So one morning, about a week before the game, when Francine was busy, I was like, yo, Kawa, I need your skills, my mentor. Teach me the ways so I'm not at least, I want to be not left in the dust when we play. So we went to the driving range and we went over my form, gave me some tips, and it was like a switch just flipped. Suddenly I was fixed. I was shooting pretty straight. I wasn't getting any ground balls. All the shots were getting some height and some good distance too. we were talking about how Franson would react to my newfound skill, and we were like, yo, he is gonna be so shocked because he's gonna expect me to be like hot ass like I was a couple weeks earlier and think his only competition is Kawa because, you know, my dad and uncle aren't really a part of it because they smoke all three of us easily. So the trip comes around, and the night before, we're sitting at dinner with my family, and my uncle is like, yo, you gotta put some stakes on it. What are the stakes gonna be? You gotta play for something. And the thing is, we usually just play for bragging rights because it's become such a competitive thing that whoever wins is just like, all hail, insert winner's name here for the next year until the next game. Basically, bragging rights has been plenty of reward up until this point. But this year, that changed. See, we're all big fans of this ramen place, and we've been going there pretty consistently for about maybe 2 years now, and someone suggested, can't remember who, but someone suggested that the two losers have to buy the winner ramen. So now, not only was my dignity on the line, but also my wallet. I am not trying to pay for 1.5 ramen bowls next time we go, so I needed to win this. Francie and Kawa are out here making bank with their new jobs, and my ass is unemployed. I cannot be paying for someone else's meal. Anyways, Francium had been talking mad trash, being like, yeah, Kawa, you're cooked, bro. It's over for you, bro. I'm winning this shit. And what's crazy is, I was so bad when we last played with him that in his mind, I wasn't even a threat. He didn't even think of talking smack to me because I wasn't even registering as an op. In his mind, this was a two-man race, and I was just some guy playing for fun on the sidelines. But he didn't know that Kawa had helped me level the playing field. Now, granted, I wasn't particularly better than either of them. It's just that now, after reviewing how to actually play the game and have decent form, I could actually play the game and have decent form, meaning that I was a contender for victory this year. I was the sleeper pick, if you will. The next morning, we woke up at like 5:30 for our 6:30 game, and I took this picture. I showed it to Kawa, and I was like, yo, this is a good representation of how today's gonna go, bro. Because I woke up to the alarm, and they just, went back to sleep. So I was like, I'm in it to win it, baby. I'm ready to go. You kids are on your asses sleeping. So we drove over to the golf course, and on the way there, silence. No music, no chatter. Only the occasional yawn and Francim saying that Kawa was going to lose. I actually took this video when we got out of the car. Smack talk. Here we go, boys.
Alright.
Napa, Kawa.
Competing for second place.
We'll see how that ages.
Let's see how it goes for him.
So anyways, we went over, checked in or whatever, and started playing. The course was 18 holes, and for any golf nerds out there, most of the holes are between like 80 and 130 yards away. So very beginner course, but for us, this is what we'd been working toward. This is what all the smack talk had led up to. This game is what would define the next year up until we played again. About 3 holes in, I could tell Francine was realizing that I wasn't actually hot ass and that I could potentially compete for the dub this year. About 9 holes in, Francine was doing some calculations because he was the one keeping track of the scores. And he was like, yo, do you want to know where you're at? And I was like, no, I'm good. I don't need to know. And the thing is, Francine is pulling out all the strats. He is a smart guy. And as long as it's fair play, he is going to do what it takes to win. So he's trying to get in my head. So when I responded, no, I don't need to know, he told me anyway because he wanted me to be stressed out about how close he was behind me because he was actually only 3 shots behind. And I was winning, and Kawa was a little further back, not quite on his A game that day. But the thing is, I've known Francium since the 1st grade, and if you do some math, I'm basically in the 15th grade now, which is crazy, by the way, because college or whatnot. So I've known him for well over a decade, and I know how this man's brain works. So I knew that if I acted pretty nonchalant about the scores and about how well I was doing, he would be like, oh shit, he doesn't give a fuck. I can't get in his head. I just have to beat him with straight up skill. And at that point, he's already in his own head, because when we first started, I backed up and let him be the one to pick up the scorecard so that he would be in his head about the scores and he would be constantly stressing over it, thus becoming less focused and more worried about how Kawa and I were playing. Now at this point, you may be like, Napa, you are a freak for overanalyzing this so much. Like, bro, it's just a game of golf with your friends and family on vacation, chill out. But to that I would say, you don't know me. I take this shit seriously. I need my free ramen, bro. And no one was gonna stand in my way. Also, subscribe if you're enjoying the story and comment if you like the style video. Maybe I'll make more. Anyways, we kept playing, more holes went by. Francine asked me a couple more times if I wanted to know my score. He was in his head about it. I could tell he was frustrated, that he was consistently just slightly behind me. And I was just laser focused on keeping calm and just focusing on my form. My mind was impenetrable. No one could get in there if they tried. And the last hole came around. I think he told me we were tied or something, and maybe I was like one shot behind. I don't remember. Kyle was far enough behind that he was out of the running for the victory this year. I took my shot, pretty solid, nothing crazy. Francium took his shot. Ground ball. I got the ball in 4 shots, and he got it in 5. I won. By 1 fucking shot. G fucking G, baby. The feeling of getting back to the house and my mom asking, oh, so who won, guys? And just being able to say, it was me. And seeing the look on Francium's face after all his smack talk was incredible. The best way I can describe the feeling is with this TikTok. Subscribe for more commentaries because we are back.
We are back, baby. We are fucking back. We're back. Classic. We are back.